You hear it all the time, right? The cloud is the future, the ultimate key to saving money and being more efficient. But what if I told you that a whole bunch of companies are quietly packing their bags and leaving the cloud? It's happening. And the reason why is this sneaky little problem called technical debt. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how this invisible issue is forcing this huge, surprising U-turn.
Now, to get to the bottom of this trend, we're diving into a really insightful report from Virtualization Options LLC. They're a technology research and advisory group based out of Colorado. These folks have really done their homework on this, so let's dig into what they found out.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, what is this hidden debt anyway? Then we'll look at how it totally torpedoes a cloud strategy. After that, we'll talk about this big move, cloud repatriation. And finally, we'll get into how you can build a smarter cloud strategy and not fall into these traps.
All right, let's jump right in. What on earth is this invisible problem we call technical debt? And what is it really costing businesses?
So here's the official definition, but let's break it down. Technical debt, it's basically the price you'll pay later for taking a shortcut today. You choose the quick and dirty fix now instead of doing it the right way, which, would have taken longer. It might not show up on a financial statement, but trust me, you will eventually pay for it, and you'll pay for it in real money.
The report from Virtualization Options uses a fantastic analogy that makes this super clear. Imagine you're building a house. You decide to use cheap materials and cut a few corners to save some cash up front. Great, right? Well, not really. Because down the road, you're stuck with a house that needs constant, expensive repairs. That is exactly what technical debt is in the world of tech.
So how does this debt pile up in the first place? Well, it's usually a story we all know too well. You've got impossible deadlines, maybe not enough planning, or you just don't have the right people for the job. And a big one? Just sticking with those old, clunky legacy systems that, let's be honest, should have been retired ages ago.
Okay, part 2. And this is where things get really interesting. See, everyone thinks the cloud is the answer to their problems. But what happens when your debt follows you there? It can turn that shiny, cost-saving cloud into a giant, expensive money pit.
This is the critical mistake so many make. You can't just lift and shift your problems to the cloud and hope they disappear. It doesn't work like that. The cloud doesn't fix your technical debt. It actually magnifies it. All that messy code in those fragile systems, you're not just moving them. You're moving them to a place where every inefficiency costs you money. You end up with a cloud setup that's way too complex, unstable, and expensive, right from the get-go.
And the first thing you'll notice? The bill. It's the most painful consequence. Because cloud services are pay-as-you-go, right? Well, that inefficient code, all that baggage from your technical debt, it needs more horsepower to run. More processing, more memory, more everything. And that translates directly into a cloud bill that's, well, way, way higher than you ever expected.
Next up, performance just tanks. All those shortcuts and quick fixes from the past, they become major bottlenecks in the cloud. Your applications start running slow, and your users, they get a really bad experience. All that speed and agility the cloud was supposed to give you, poof, gone. It's all just dragged down by that old, heavy debt.
And number 3, and this one is a big deal, you're looking at huge security risks. Technical debt almost always means you're running on outdated code with outdated security. When you move that to the cloud, you're basically opening up a much bigger door for hackers. Plus, trying to meet today's compliance rules with that old foundation, it becomes a nightmare.
So you've got skyrocketing costs, terrible performance, and scary security holes. When you add it all up, companies start making a really dramatic and frankly shocking decision. It's called cloud repatriation.
So what exactly is cloud repatriation? Think of it as a full-on retreat. It's when a company literally pulls its apps and data out of a public cloud, like AWS or Azure, and moves everything back to their own private data centers. Yep, back to the very servers they were so desperate to get away from in the first place.
So what's pushing them to make this move? The report's data tells the whole story. The absolute #1 reason is skyrocketing cloud costs, those insane bills we were just talking about. Coming in right behind that are security and compliance worries, and then this fear of getting locked in with one vendor. And if you look closely, these aren't random issues.
They're the direct result of all that technical debt finally catching up with them.
You know, the report really lays out two very different stories here. On one hand, you've got Company A. They just rushed into the cloud, dragging all their technical debt along for the ride. The result? A total mess. Performance nightmares, security holes. They had no choice but to repatriate. But then there's Company B. They were smart. They dealt with their debt first. They cleaned up their code before they made the move. And what did they get? The real promise of the cloud. Lower costs and amazing performance.
Okay, so obviously we all want to be Company B, right? So how do you do that? Let's flip this around from the problem to the solution. Here's how you can build a smarter cloud strategy that actually works.
Look, managing technical debt isn't a one-and-done thing. It's got to be a continuous effort. The report gives us a great four-step plan. First, you need a framework to actually see, track, and prioritize your debt. You can't fix what you can't see. Second, do regular code reviews. This stops you from creating new debt. Third, use automated testing as your safety net to catch problems early. And finally, you have to refactor those old systems, but smartly. You don't try to boil the ocean, you just target the stuff that's causing the biggest headache.
And at the same time, you need a smart cloud management strategy running in parallel. This means, first, you've got to constantly assess your usage. Know where every dollar is going. Second, optimize your resources. That means right-sizing everything and getting rid of waste. Third, you need strong governance. Basically, set clear rules for security, compliance, and spending. And finally, and this is so important, invest in your people. Train your teams so they have the skills to run this whole thing properly.
All right, let's bring this all together. What are the key things to remember? First, technical debt isn't some minor tech issue. It's a huge reason why companies are forced into expensive cloud repatriation. Second, that debt is what's causing those crazy high costs, the slow performance, and the security holes in the cloud. Third, dealing with this debt isn't just a job for the tech team, it's a critical business decision. Which brings us to the big one. You can't have a successful cloud strategy unless your tech is healthy. Your business goals and your tech capabilities have to be perfectly aligned.
So I'll leave you with this one last thought, and it's a big one. You might have this amazing, detailed cloud strategy all mapped out, but have you actually looked under the hood? Have you really checked for that hidden debt that could be waiting to sink the whole thing? It's definitely something you want to ask now before you find yourself on that long, unexpected road back from the cloud.